I'm so thankful for the Iowa Caucus app disaster. I've been wanting to make videos about what my partner Einar and I do with web software consulting for quite a while, talking about things like the importance of planning, asking yourself questions about your business needs. We ask our clients about their business needs before we start doing anything. And I've been gifted this amazing example now of why all this stuff matters and why the focus that we put on our clients and their businesses really matter. So, the question I want to talk about now, using that Iowa Caucus app disaster as an example, is why do this project now? This is actually the first question that we ask every client. We begin every one of our relationships with a client by trying to dissuade them from doing the work at all. And only if they pass through that hurdle, does it make sense to keep moving? Because if you can't justify why you want to do this project, you're not really going to be motivated to pay us enough to do it correctly, uh, participate in the process to get it done right, et cetera, et cetera. Right. So, oftentimes with tech projects, the answer for that question, why do we want to do this now, is we need to do something fresh or we need to do something new. Um, You keep hearing this in relation to the Iowa caucuses. We need to update the caucus process for the 21st century. That is not a reason to do anything. That's a crazy thing that people say who have nothing really to offer in terms of analysis of why they even have their jobs. I say this because the Iowa caucus system worked well, other than the, I think, 2012 race where Mitt Romney was incorrectly called the winner, and Rick Santorum was called the winner maybe several weeks later, sometime after New Hampshire, which really denied Rick Santorum the bump I'm sure that he wanted to get out of all the hard work he put into Iowa. But other than that glitch, which was on the other side with the Republicans, the Iowa caucus process had worked well. There was no problem with it. This was a solution in search of a problem, and there was no problem to fix. So you have to ask yourself then, what would this do for the Iowa Democratic Party? Why did they pursue it? Was it to allow results to be compiled a little bit faster? I mean, clearly that hasn't worked out for them. This is the slowest that these results have been delivered, perhaps ever. But I know why this happens, and it's because of a mindset that takes over both on the part of the client and the contractor. Um, and that's that the client starts thinking irrationally about technology projects. They think that technology is magic, which it's not. And I say magic because they think it's immune to all the other realities of a business process. They don't think that it takes very much time to implement. They don't think that it needs to be tested. They don't think it requires staff training. They think that it's going to work like downloading an app from the App Store on your phone without realizing that startups need to raise millions of dollars so that they can do testing and hire coders to do accurate work, and that you're only seeing that app after months or sometimes years of development. But the contractor also loves being treated as a magician, right? Because they can escape accountability. They don't have to act like a professional. They like leaning on the fact that others don't know the sort of dark arts that they do back in their developer cave. So professionals need to understand that, well, clients may think that you have a magic wand. You actually have a process that requires a ton of buy in from them. You're a consultant, and as such, you need to consult. You need to walk your client through the entire process. That didn't happen here. A ton of the requirements were missed. So you can't let the demanding boss model take over. You can't let the client say, I don't care about your process, just leave me alone and get it done. This is when you either need to have a come to Jesus moment with the client to explain why their buy in matters. You need input from them. You need to train them. They need to help you with testing. They need to help you define the scope of the project, which was not done correctly here. Or if they don't buy into that, you need to quit working with them. It's not worth $63,000 in this case, to put something out that's just a disaster in the making. And I bring up the $63,000 because this is another part of convincing your client that this isn't magic. You can produce 95% of an app for $65,000. But what really matters is that last 5%, the high polish that you put on something. And that only comes from testing, getting out in the field, and training people. 95% of an app doesn't do anything. You can get most of the app together. The coding can all get done. Those elements are in place. I doubt that whatever the coding issue was that was fixed in the last 24 or 36 or 48 hours, whatever, um, was a major bug that had to be worked out. It was a small thing, but finding those small things takes all that testing and training. It's only going to change a little bit of a percentage of the app, but it's going to make it functional. In this case, maybe that doesn't quite apply because I think they got the scope totally wrong. But again, that would be revealed by just charging the client enough to go through a real discovery process. I think a lot of this is a result of a sort of move fast, break things, Facebook style model of making things and putting them out on the web. But unlike Facebook or even the things that the folks at Shadow had worked on previously, like Hillary Clinton's campaign site, um, the election app is a totally different animal, right? You can break Hillary Clinton's email sign up form for a little while. And if you do it at a crucial time, it's not a good thing, but it's not threatening the integrity of Western democracy, right? It doesn't have huge consequential effects. Whereas you can't have any downtime at all in this sort of app. So I don't know why these folks were hired on this. They seem to just have a completely inappropriate background. Yes, they had worked in politics, but politics is different from elections. Um, But that's where I think the marketing move fast, who cares about the consequences? We'll fix it. We just got to keep experimenting and try to get more email signups so we can raise money for Hillary. That mindset took over and it was the wrong set of skills to bring to this problem. It probably is the right approach in marketing. You should just move and test things and experiment and not be afraid to do things because that's how you find stuff that works out. It's just not the way that you build something mission critical like this. So again, this all brings me back to why do this now? That's the question you have to ask yourself, and what any really good developer or consultant should be asking you. Why are we doing this? And if you don't have a compelling answer that says it's worth the risk, it's worth the money, it's worth your time, and it's worth just the mental overhead that goes into any one of these projects are going to be demanding of you if you're a customer, and they're certainly going to be demanding if you're the developer. So you have to have a compelling reason why do it. It needs to be something like it's going to make us a bunch of money, or it's going to save thousands of hours of staff time a year, or it's going to help us deliver something critical much faster. And that's going to translate into save time and save money. So if you don't have that compelling reason and you really need to do a gut check, then don't do the project. 100% of projects that aren't done don't fail, right? So, sort of the opposite of the Michael Jordan, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. I mean, you do not screw up projects that you decline because they don't make sense at the beginning. So that's the thing to ask yourself. The next project that comes up, why are we doing this? It's got to be a good reason.